welcome to today's presentation in the ABCs of Financial Fitness for Educators, a Teacher Talk webinar series. My name is Jay Harrison Patterson, and I am your moderator for the evening. I started a little bit about me. I started my career as a lawyer, but I was drawn to financial education as my passion. I'm delighted to help clients across the country on their path to financial fitness. So that's enough about me. I'm not going to hesitate to introduce our 2016-2017 Life Changer of the Year Grand Prize winner, Anna Rubio. Anna, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Hi, how are you?
Hi. Anna, could you tell us a little bit about what you do as an educator, where you teach, and how long you have been a K-12 school employee?
Yes, I work in Miami-Dade County Public Schools. I work in a little elementary school called Arlington Heights in the city of Miami. And my kids are, I guess you could say, the most vulnerable in the city of Miami. So I really try to do a lot of work for them. And that's how I became Life Changer of the Year, the work that I do with them.
Well, we're very, very proud of you and very grateful for the work that you do. At what point during your career as an educator did you start to place value on managing your personal finances and planning for retirement?
I am a single mom of 3 young boys. Now they're men, all doing well. But at the beginning, I was just trying to survive and I just wanted to give them the best. And after they got into high school, I knew that I had to make some changes. I knew that I had to downsize. I was living in a neighborhood that really I couldn't afford. So I had to sell my house and try to find a place that I could afford more. I wasn't saving for my 403B. So now I'm playing catch up, really trying to put as much as I can into my 403B and just really being more financially literate on how I spend my money, how can I create self-wealth. And that's where I am now. And luckily, paid off all my credit cards and I'm in a better place, thank God. And my sons are all doing well.
Good for you. And it sounds like a really big part of your journey has really been just self responsibility, self accountability, and you've invested time in learning about your finances
Yes.
and how to best manage your debt and advocate for your own financial needs. What can other educators learn from your story?
Well, I hit rock bottom. Like I had over $10,000 in credit card debt. I was not spending wisely. And I myself reached out and really tried to find a financial planner that could guide me because, as an educator, I know a lot about kids. I'm a physical education teacher. I can pull out all kinds of information for my students, but so far as financial literacy goes, I knew zero. And it took me, I had to do research, find a great financial planner. He sat me down, he studied my history, he looked at my finances, and we created it's kind of like a doctor. We just created like a path of different goals and what I really needed to do. And I had to do a lot of soul searching and I had to back down and just if I wanted to make these goals and if I really wanted to retire well, I needed to really make some changes. And I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, for your vulnerability. It takes so much courage to stand here in front of your peers and speak so earnestly and honestly about your particular path. And we know, we understand that a lot of our educators are just simply undereducated when it comes to financial planning and retirement planning and debt management. And, but based on your insight, it sounds like there really is a need for financial education for educators so that they
definitely
can be empowered.
Yes, definitely. Especially now during COVID, like I had to reflect a lot during this time and you don't know what's going to bring tomorrow. So I'm really like for me right now, I'm just trying to save as much as I can. And I really have a passion not only to help my students, but I love helping teachers. And I was so happy to be invited to come and speak about financial literacy. And I've learned so much from you being able to do this. So I really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you, Anna, and we will see you at the end of our presentation. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We are going to get started with tonight's presentation. Again, this is the ABCs of Financial Fitness for Educators, a Teacher Talk webinar series. But let's talk about where we've been. Week 1 of our series, we talked about maximizing your cash flow. Week 2, we talked about debt management and student loan forgiveness. Last week, we talked about the countdown to retirement and how that starts right now. And to view those recordings, you can go to lifechangeroftheyear.com. and you'll have immediate access to the previous episodes in this series. Tonight, we're talking about looking beyond Social Security for retirement. And then next week, we're going to wrap up with a very, very special presentation, Retirement Income Planning Strategies for Women. And that will go all into the very specific issues that we as women face when planning for retirement. So you're not going to want to miss that one. And you can definitely go to Life Changer of the Year to view the past week's episodes. I want to encourage you, if you're looking for more information, if you've been watching this series and you're getting a little bit more invested, a little bit more interested in what we're talking about, visit our retirement homeroom. This is a financial education resource provided for you by NLG. And in the retirement homeroom, you can create your own financial plan. You can take a look at what you can expect from your pension and get an idea of what you'll need in retirement. And if there's a gap there, you can connect with an agent who can help you map out your customized plan. It's an amazing resource. It is to empower you, to educate you, to take control of your finances, and it's available to you right now. You'll find the link in our chat box. You'll also find a link that will direct you if you want to just skip all that. And it's like, look, I need to talk to someone. I need to be sure of my plan. We'll have a link in the chat box where you can connect with an agent and someone will contact you and get you started on that journey. At this time, I'd like to introduce our guest expert, Rebecca Jacopelli. Rebecca is a certified financial planner. She is the lead financial planner with her firm, and she has been in finance for 7 years, and she's going to be our expert tonight. Good evening, Rebecca. Welcome.
Hey, how are you? Thank you so much for having me.
I'm very good. We're so glad to have you here. Becky, we're going to start our presentation with a poll question. We want to get the audience involved. And that reminds me, do not hesitate. If you have any questions, pop them in the chat box right now as you go, because you'll forget if you wait to the end. And at the end of this presentation, you have the amazing opportunities to ask Becky questions right here live, a certified financial planner right here to answer your questions. You'll also have access to an investment advisor who can answer your investment questions. So don't hesitate, stick around to the end and drop your questions in the chat box as we go through the presentation. But right now, let's start off with a poll question. At what age do you plan on taking Social Security? Are you planning on taking it as soon as you can, age 62, age 62 to 65, at full retirement age, or a little bit older, 67 through 70? Becky, what has been your experience with clients? When do they typically take Social Security?
Yeah, I've seen people take it at all different ages. Of course, more commonly, I see them take it at their full retirement age. But I can't emphasize enough how important it is to plan around Social Security. A lot of people are relying on it very heavily and almost too much. For example, I had a family member who spent down their retirement assets thinking that Social Security would be enough for them, and it really wasn't. So they had to downsize, they had to make some changes, they had to work a little longer. So I really encourage you guys to plan ahead as much as possible and speak to an agent, because we really want to map this out so that it works out best for your situation.
Absolutely. And with that, it looks like, and the poll looks like we're done. It looks like most of our audience tonight is planning on taking retirement, not as early as possible, but in that mid-range. That's exciting news for this audience. But, you know, like you said, a lot of people really do rely heavily on Social Security for retirement.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Social Security for half of seniors, it provides at least 50% of their income. And then for about 1 in 4 seniors, Social Security provides at least 90% of their income. So people do rely very heavily on Social Security. And when it comes to Social Security, you have a few options of when you want to take it. So you can take it at age 62. Now that would be early. And what that's going to do is permanently reduce your benefits. So you definitely want to be careful when considering that. Then, of course, you can take it at, like most people said in this webinar, that they're going to take it at full retirement age. That ranges from age 65 to 67, depending on your birth date. And then you can also be taking it at age 70, which if you take it at age 70, every year from full retirement age, you're going to get an 8% increase. So it's really beneficial if you can do so.
Yeah, if you can hold off for a few years. What would determine why someone would take it earlier versus later?
When it comes to Social Security and when to take it, it's a really difficult thing to do, but you have to really look back on your health situation, the longevity of your family to really make the best decision. Tell me when you're going to pass away, and I will tell you when you should take Social Security. Really, that's a crystal ball that we don't have. So when it comes to Social Security, you want to plan around what your health situation is. And what this chart demonstrates is that if you're going to live to age 72, then it's best to start taking it early because you want to get the most bang for your buck.
Mhm.
But on contrast, if you live to around age 82, it's best to take it at full retirement age.
Mhm.
But then if you live to age 92 and you have a little more longevity in your family,
Mhm.
then holding off till age 70 is going to give you the most value.
Can you work and still collect Social Security?
Absolutely. So Bridgework is a great supplement to your retirement income. It's a really great thing to do. It's something that you may be passionate about. You take off from full-time work and do something part-time that you enjoy and just brings in some extra income for you. Now, if you are under full retirement age, Social Security is going to deduct some of what you receive, as long as it's not above the limit of $18,240. So just be careful when considering that. But once you reach full retirement age, you don't have to worry about it at all. Your earnings are not going to be reduced no matter how much you earn. But the benefit is, even if you were reduced previously when you were under full retirement age, Social Security is going to recalculate your benefit amount when you hit full retirement age and credit you back for what was withheld.
We're talking to an audience of teachers, and most are going to rely heavily on their pension. Could you talk to us a little bit more about a pension plan and how it works?
Yeah, the pensions, they're a great asset to have in your retirement. They provide a guaranteed payout for life, so you really can't beat that. And there's a lot of different options when it comes to taking your pension. So usually you have the lump sum option, you have what's called a single life annuity, which means it's just going to pay you for the entirety of your remaining life. Or there's a joint and survivor situation where normally that's where it's going to pay you a certain amount while you're living, and then it'll typically pay around 50% to your spouse when you pass away. Now, these options kind of replicate life insurance. So it's really important to talk to your agent about this because you have to consider all the options and see which one is the most cost-effective way for you. And once you make your pension decision, that decision is made. It's set in stone.
Hmm.
So we really want to make sure we get that right.
Mhm. What, in addition to pension, what other forms of retirement income are available?
Yes, so there are annuities, and annuities are a great way to provide supplemental income in retirement that you can really rely on. So fixed income annuities will provide guaranteed income for a certain period of time or for your lifetime. And what's great about them is that they aren't subject to losses in the market. So if you're really concerned about market fluctuations and you're pretty risk averse, this might be the way to go for you because it's going to provide that income without having to worry about the volatility in the market. And it's also tax deferred. So the contributions you make to this account are going to grow tax free until you take them out at retirement. And when it comes to contributions, you can contribute as much as you want to an annuity. Unlike a 401k or an IRA where there's limitations, you can contribute whatever you want to fit into your plan.
And to get into a fixed versus a variable annuity is probably beyond tonight's presentation. But like Becky said, for more information, you want to talk to your agent and to see how maybe an annuity can fit into your plan based on what you're comfortable with in terms of your retirement income and retirement income needs. Becky, we're talking to teachers, and teachers are also eligible for a 401k or 403b. And this might be a good time for another poll question. Do you feel as though you are prepared for retirement? Yes, definitely, mostly, but need some help. I'll worry about it when it comes closer. What sense do you get when you're talking to your clients of their preparedness for retirement?
Yeah, I would say most people need a lot of help. It certainly is beneficial to start wherever you are. It's never too early and it's never too late to get started when it comes to talking to a financial professional. So we really encourage you to do so as soon as possible. You certainly can't be over prepared for retirement. So we definitely encourage you to talk to someone. Even if you think you've got it figured out, another set of eyes would be beneficial to you.
Absolutely. And it looks like, looking at our audience tonight, looks like most of our audience do need some help. So you are in the right place. You're right here. We have a bunch of resources available to you. In addition to our financial professionals who are here tonight to answer your questions live, you can again visit the retirement homeroom. There's so many resources there available for you to educate yourself, to read up more about a lot of the things that you're going to hear us talk about tonight, or you've heard us talk about throughout this series. And then again, if you don't have an agent that you've been working with through NLG, an agent can reach out to you and set up an appointment time that you can sit down and discuss your financial needs and your plan. But Becky, getting back to 401ks, 403bs, how are those used to provide retirement income?
Yeah, so when it comes to your portfolio, there are a few options for withdrawal to provide you with your retirement income, and that's coming from your 401ks, your 403bs, and IRAs. One of them is the 4% rule. So that's where you withdraw 4% each year. You increase that by inflation. And typically in a 60-40 portfolio, which means 60% in stocks and 40% in bonds, that's going to last you around 30 years. The only problem with that is that there's market volatility to be concerned about. And that's where the dynamic withdrawal strategy comes into play. So that's where you change your income stream depending on market returns. So say the market's doing really well, then you can spend a little more. If the market's doing poorly, you might have to spend a little less. That might be difficult for some people, and that's why having a fixed income stream, such as an annuity, your pension, your Social Security, is really important, just so you don't have to rely as heavily in case there are market fluctuations. But really, the best situation is called the bucket method. This is where you have different accounts for different purposes. So you have a short-term account that's going to have around 2 to 3 years worth of expenses, living expenses, and you're going to keep that in cash so that it's secure, it's not subject to market fluctuations. Then you're going to keep around 5 years of expenses in a conservative portfolio that's for medium-term goals, and that would be a bond portfolio. And then the rest of your assets are going to go into a long-term portfolio with more aggressive investments so that it can grow over time for you.
How should retirement accounts be invested? What would you recommend?
Yeah, so when it comes to your asset allocation, it's a representation of how you are invested. And we really want to encourage you to be diversified between stocks, bonds, and cash. We really want you to stay in the market. Of course, keeping in mind your risk tolerance, which we should discuss with an agent. But typically you can use this common rule, which is use the number 110, subtract your age, and that's going to come up with just about the equity percentage that you should have in your portfolio. Of course, if you utilize the bucket strategy, it will figure this out for you so that you can keep those in separate accounts and make sure that you have enough saves to protect you against any fluctuations in the market.
Yeah. And as we get older, healthcare costs become more prevalent, especially when we're trying to retire. What's a good plan to handle those costs?
Yeah, so healthcare costs can be a real significant portion of your retirement expenses. It's definitely something that you want to be prepared for. So for single retirees, the healthcare cost estimate is $150,000 for women and $135,000 for men throughout retirement. So this is definitely a hefty expense that we certainly want to talk to our agent about. Of course, it's going to depend on our own health situation. That's something we want to keep in mind. But a great vehicle that we can use to help us save for our health expenses is called a health savings account. And this type of account has triple tax benefits. So what that means is that you get a tax deduction up front, you get tax-free growth in the account, and then you get a tax-free distribution as long as you're utilizing it for healthcare expenses. And even if you don't utilize it for healthcare expenses, say you don't need it, you're healthy, then after age 65, it acts just like a regular retirement account, just like a 401k or an IRA, and you can withdraw and just pay ordinary income taxes on those accounts. And just to keep in mind, for 2021, the max contribution for single people is $3,600, and for families, $7,200.
That HSAs are a really great tax strategy, Becky. What do you have any other recommendations to save on taxes?
Yeah, so we certainly want to focus on our tax strategy when it comes to retirement. Of course, we want to pay Uncle Sam as little as possible. So some things we can do are withdraw from our after-tax brokerage accounts first. This way we can take advantage of long-term capital gains rates, which are going to be lower than our ordinary income tax rates. Also, we want to balance our distributions. So we may have a bunch of different types of accounts. We can have IRAs, we can have brokerage accounts, Roth IRAs. We want to balance this out so that we don't extend ourselves into the next tax bracket. So this can be a good thing to talk to your tax accountant about, because you want to make sure to spread that income evenly over retirement so that it doesn't bump you up into the next tax bracket. And then, of course, if we can, as long as we don't need it for our expenses, we want to distribute from a Roth IRA last. And that's because it's a really great type of account. It's tax deferred, it has tax-free distributions, and it's really the best account to leave to your heirs because it has no tax implications for them.
Yeah, the Roth IRAs really seems like a great investment vehicle for the individual and for their heirs and beneficiaries. But how do we get more money into a Roth?
Yeah, so something we can utilize is called a Roth IRA conversion. So that's going to help us get the benefits of a Roth, which are, like I mentioned before, are tax-free distributions. And also Roth accounts have no required minimum distributions at age 72. So as long as you don't need the money, you can keep it growing in there for as long as you want it to. And you should do these Roth conversions in years of low income. So say you just retired, now you no longer have your earned income from your employer. That's a great time to do a Roth conversion. Because it's going to limit the amount that you're paying in taxes. And you can also spread this over multiple years. So you don't necessarily need to convert your whole IRA in one tranche. You can do it over multiple tranches so that it keeps your tax bracket down as much as possible.
Thank you so much, Becky. That's a lot of very, very helpful information. As promised at the beginning, we are going to invite Sean McGill. Sean McGill is an investment advisor, and he's here to answer any investment related questions that you may have. Welcome, Sean.
Hi, how are you, Jay?
I'm great. Good to have you.
Thank you so much.
Sean, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes, I have been working with educators for 25 years. So I've got a lot of experience in 403B and 457 plans and 401A plans.
When prepping a client for retirement, what is your role?
I think our role is to draw a line from where you are to where you want to be and provide financial guidance on that journey.
Yes. So building out that plan is critical. You know, you have so many resources available to you. And again, the best place to start is right there in Retirement Homeroom. It has so many educational articles that you can read, so you can really get a grasp on what all these things really mean for you specifically, and then connect with an agent and start building out that plan. And I'm looking here and we have some great questions in the chat box. I'm so excited. I'm going to challenge everybody watching, anything that you can think of about how you can prepare for your retirement income. Any questions you might have to that, go ahead and pop in the chat box, and we're going to get started on some of these questions. Here's a great question. Can you look into your crystal ball and see if they're going to raise the retirement age to 70? I would assume it's for Social Security purposes. Becky, can you look into that crystal ball again for us?
Yes, I would love to look into that crystal ball for you. If I had one, that would be great. Of course, we don't have one, but what's a good option for you is to plan for both situations. So you can do an alternative scenario where you plan for if you were to get it at 66, say, for example, and then you do an alternative scenario where your full retirement age is at 70. That way you have an idea and you can plan for it regardless of what the situation is.
Thank you. And I think we've talked about this before. A lot of younger people are just planning to not have it at all, right?
Yeah, that's actually correct. I have a lot of clients who tell me, I don't even want to worry about it. I don't even want to imagine that it's there.
Yeah.
So a lot of younger clients are doing that.
Right. Great question. Thank you so much. Here's another question. How do I make sure I don't run out of money in retirement? Sean, you want to take a stab at this one?
Yeah, I think when we talked earlier in the presentation about the buckets,
Mhm.
the bucket being the best strategy, I think making sure that you include a guaranteed lifetime income component in that bucket, or an annuity would work well there, would be something that would be very important.
Yeah, because it's the name says, it's guaranteed for life, right? So you would never run out of income with that. Um, Great question. Thank you for that. And thank you for that answer, Sean. Here is another great question. I know I need to be in the market, but it's terrifying. What should I do? Sean, you want to take a stab at that one?
Yeah, I think going back to a high quality annuity program, and having some of that inside as a component inside of your portfolio actually helps to reduce risk in the market. So I think this is where a fixed indexed annuity can be helpful.
Great answer. Thank you for that. And great question. And again, if you have a question, go ahead and type it in the chat box. We are right here and we're still taking questions, but we have a lot of great questions already come in, but don't let that stop you. Go ahead and put your questions in the chat box. Becky, what if the market crashes the day after I retire? Golly.
Yeah, that could be scary, but that does happen. But what's most important to do is to diversify and make sure you're prepared. So if you have your pension, you have your Social Security, you have a fixed income annuity like Sean mentioned, and you're also utilizing the bucket strategy, then you're going to be really good to go. Because if you have that bucket strategy employed, then you're going to have those 2 years of expenses in cash. You're going to have 5 years of expenses in bonds, which are protected against downturns. And you're going to be in a really good situation. A bear market typically only lasts on average for about 1.4 years. So as long as you have that income for that amount of time, you're going to make your way out of that market crash, no problem.
Thank you. Great answer. Thank you for that. And a great question. Here's another question for Becky. Becky, what is a backdoor Roth IRA?
So that's when you can't contribute to a Roth IRA because your income limits are too high. So you actually contribute to an IRA as a non-deductible IRA contribution. And then you do what I mentioned before, which is a Roth conversion, and convert that non-deductible IRA to a Roth. So there's a little bit of finagling there. That's definitely something you want to talk to your tax accountant before you do.
Wonderful. Thank you, Becky. Great question. And I'm looking at the time. I want to be very respectful. We promised to keep this short. So we're going to take one more question. But look, if you have questions, I want to, again, encourage you to click the link that's in the chat box to connect with an agent, and you can get all of your personal questions answered. If you don't feel comfortable asking them here, or we're not going to be able to get to them, connect with an agent that can answer your questions directly. So last question for the evening. Becky, what is the difference between an HSA and an FSA?
So an HSA is a health savings account. An FSA is a flexible spending account. Now, the HSA allows you to maintain the funds in the account. They're your funds, and you can utilize them even in years to come. So if you have a balance left over at the end of the year, that balance is going to continue in that account. It's just your account, just like anything else. A flexible spending account has a limitation where you can contribute a certain amount, but by the end of the year, you have to fully use that amount. There's oftentimes a number like $500 that you can roll over to the next year, but you really want to be careful that you are guessing how much you're going to spend and doing that correctly so that you make sure the funds are not lost.
Thank you so much for that answer. Another great question. And I'd like to thank you both, Becky and Sean, for being here
You're welcome.
tonight, and excellent information as always. Don't forget to register if you haven't already for next week's Retirement Planning Strategies for Women, a very special presentation where we're going to dig into some of the issues that women face when trying to build a financial plan, the very specific to you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Right now, I'm going to turn it back over to Anna. Anna?
I just want to say that all that Rebecca has been talking to us about, I totally encourage all of you to start doing it now. I thought that I could wait until later to start planning for my retirement, but not to scare you, but I have several teachers at my school. One of our teachers is 72 years old. She did not plan enough for her retirement, and she decided to come back so that she could go ahead and beef up her retirement so that she could have the type of lifestyle that she was accustomed to. So that's one of the reasons why it scared me, and it really made me start to thinking about what I could do to increase and make my financial situation better for me. And at the end, remember that when you take care of yourself, you take care a lot more the ones around you. So I'm a much happier person, and I hope this helps you. And please stay safe. Please wear your mask and come back next week. So good to be here. All right. Have a great night.